fast, but when many people were given unlimited time, they still couldn't tell.
When they're given as long as they like, they're having a really hard time and giving us the wrong answer to this seemingly simple question on about 1 in 5 trials.
We've all seen masks like these in movies like Mission Impossible, but they have made it out of Hollywood and are being used to fool people in real life and even commit crimes, like this masked bank robber in California.
The police were looking for someone of a particular description, and it later transpired that they'd been looking for someone who was totally different.
To learn more, I spoke to Rob Jenkins. He's a psychologist who has published studies looking at facial perception using hyper-realistic masks.
Can you talk about these experiments you've been running in recent years, looking at how these masks are indeed fooling people?
And these hyper-realistic masks break the connection that we've all become used to between facial appearance and identity. And we were interested in whether people are getting away with that kind of concealment because people just aren't paying attention. They don't see any reason to be looking at a particular person's face, or maybe they're just not expecting to see something like a highly realistic mask, and so it doesn't occur to them that that might be what they're seeing. Or if the masks really are so realistic that they just pass for regular humans. And so we wanted to test that more formally. We had this computer-based task where we're showing people pairs of images on screen, and they just have to say which one is the mask. Now, we've done that in a couple of ways. One is just kind of at a glance, so it's to model the sort of situation where, someone walks past, we're talking like half a second or something, they just catch your eye. And we did that because we thought this task might be too easy, and we'd just see everyone's performing perfectly, right? That wasn't the case at all. So people were terrible at making these discriminations when it was a brief presentation. So we decided to make it easier on them and just say, okay, you can take as long as you like. And when they're given as long as they like, that improves performance a little bit. But they're having a really hard time and giving us the wrong answer to this seemingly simple question on about 1 in 5 trials.
That's actually one of the reasons I find this so interesting, is that we're evolutionarily programmed to pick up on facial cues. It's so much of our social interaction, yet you have these masks that aren't necessarily 100% realistic still fooling a good amount of people.
Humans are social animals, and so we rely very much on getting whatever insight we can into each other's mental states from our appearance. So we can tell if someone's following along in conversation. We can tell if they're cross with us or pleased to see us or skeptical of what we're telling them. And we need to do that. We also need to be able to connect it to particular individuals so that when we see them again, we can remember what happened last time and behave accordingly.
And this isn't necessarily for fun and games. There's actually been some reports of these being used in crimes to conceal identity, right?
We started to notice a few years ago that we were seeing reports in the news of things like bank robberies where, say, the police were looking for someone of a particular description, and it later transpired that they'd been looking for someone who was totally different from the appearance of the actual culprit. So we're talking things like totally different age, maybe different race, different gender, that sort of thing. And so you can see how that kind of misleading of the investigation could really get things off on the wrong path. There was a case in the United States where there was a string of bank robberies that CCTV footage showed appeared to be carried out by someone in their 70s or 80s. And this figure gained a kind of anti-hero status online, known as the Geezer Bandit. And so people were following him, and, to some extent there was some cheering on of this pensioner who was sticking it to the man, and he almost got caught on his final job. So he was escaping on foot from the scene of the crime, and apparently ran off at such great speed that people watching started to wonder if this really was someone in their 70s or 80s. And at that stage, opinion started to shift towards, okay, well, this looks as if it could be someone much younger wearing a mask that's putting us off the scent.
I think what's really interesting with that bank robbery case is the disconnect between what people thought of for his face and what people thought of for his ability to run, which old people don't do very well. How might that disconnect be playing out when people are making these judgments about how a person might be able to move?
If we want to improve detection of these masks when they're being misused for criminal activities, part of the solution might be to look for other cues that conflict with the signal you're getting from the face. There could be mismatches in apparent age. So if the way the person is moving looks very youthful, but the face looks very old and wrinkled and haggard, that's a useful mismatching cue. So there are a number of things that you could look for that are not directly to do with facial appearance, but exploit the facial appearance in conjunction with other messages that you're getting. And that sort of conflict could be a part of the detection story, I think.
These hyper-realistic masks aren't anything new. We've seen them in the movies, but what seems to be new is that the price has been coming down quite significantly. Can you talk about maybe the evolution of the industry here, how this is becoming more available for regular folks like us?
I think this started off in like Hollywood special effects industry, and there were a few craftsmen who were masters of this particular form of artistry and were involved in sculpting and monster making and all the rest of it. And they developed these techniques using various materials over the years. They started around $600 up to $1,000, maybe $1,500. So I have one here that's kind of an old favorite, this one. So as you can see, it's made of this silicone material. Silicone is very durable, but also very flexible. And it kind of looks like human skin, in fact, which is the idea, of course. And it's not what most people think of when they think of a mask, because it's a single piece that goes right over the head, down the neck, and over the shoulders. So there's no visible join at all. So each one is hand painted. Everyone is unique, but you see all the details, like little freckles and all the wrinkles are there. Each one is hand punched with human hair. So in this case, eyebrows, there's a bit of ear hair there for added realism. This is another example I've got that has a full head of hair. All of these developments over a number of years have led to the position we're in now, where there are some manufacturers around the world producing similar products along those lines. And as a consequence, the price has come down a bit, and we're starting to see these more widespread than they were initially.
I mean, you have clearly shown that humans are not very good at picking up these masks, but might that actually pose a problem for facial recognition? Are computers actually going to be able to recognize these as fake faces?
Although these hyper-realistic face masks look a lot like real faces in the visible spectrum of light, there are other parts of the light spectrum you could potentially play with. So let's think about infrared. The thermal signature of a real face is going to be quite different from the thermal signature of a masked face, especially when that mask is made of silicone, because silicone is a very good heat insulator, right? So you can imagine if you had infrared vision, which is a problem for humans, but not at all a problem for automatic face recognition systems, that might just be a really quick and simple way to tell, well, that's not a real head that I'm looking at because it's not glowing.
Are there gaps in the way that we as humans can perceive faces?
This is a question that's kind of new to science. And we know that there's a range of ability in identification tasks, as telling who's who. Some people are really, really good at that. And in security and forensic context, there's increasing interest in being able to screen for those people so that you can assign people to tasks that involve face recognition who are naturally good at that and tend not to make mistakes. Whether you could do the same with this new task of detecting synthetic faces is an open question, but it's one that we're looking into.
Thank you for showing us your real face today.
Ha! That's what you think.